Okay, so for the next section I have here, 5.2 is called decimals and percents. So we have some basic information here at the top, and it says that, let me get my pen, a percent just means out of 100, okay? So let's see if we can figure out these couple of problems just by reading them. It says 100 adults were asked to name their favorite sport, and the results were shown on the circle graph. Okay, first thing I want you to notice, how many adults did we survey? 100. Should make it a lot easier. What sport was preferred by the most adults? So which is the biggest piece of the pie there? Well, that would be foosball. And 37 out of 100, or 37% of the people liked football. Okay, what sport was preferred by the least number of adults? So the least number, the smallest piece looks like it would be volleyball. And volleyball was only 3%. The next one says, what percent of adults preferred football or soccer? So we're going to take football, which is 37%. We're going to add soccer, which is 13%. And that's going to give me 50%. And then the next question here says, what percent of adults preferred basketball or baseball? So basketball was 20%, baseball was 15%. That leaves me with 35%. Okay, so the next part here says, how do we change a percent to a decimal? So there's a couple ways you can go about this. The directions I have here say, we're going to take our number, we're going to divide it by 100, and then we're going to drop the percent sign. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my number, 38. I'm going to divide it by 100. That is leaving me with 0.38, and I'm going to drop my percent sign. Okay? Now, that way will always work. What I want you to think about, and sometimes people find this easier, in the number 38%, there is a decimal. I don't see it right now, but that decimal is really after my number 8. In order to change a percent to a decimal, I'm going to move my decimal point 2 spaces to the left, and I'm going to drop my percent sign. So I'm going to do that with the next one here too. My decimal right now is behind the 5. I'm going to move it 2 spaces, 1, 2. So now my number is 1.75. My number here is 4. There's my decimal. I'm going to move it 2 spaces, 1, 2. Since I didn't have a number to the right, to the left of the 4, I need to put a 0 in. So 0.04. Same thing here, 1, 2, 0.052. Okay? Now, how do we go backwards? Well, instead of dividing by 100, we're going to multiply by 100. So I'm going to take my calculator, just like I did before. I'm going to take 0.27 times 100. That gives me 27, and I'm going to add my percent sign. I want you to notice, though, before we were moving our decimal point to the left. Now, if I move my decimal point 2 spaces to the right, I end up with 27%. I find this much easier. But again, you can use any one that you'd like. You can use the multiplying to convert a decimal to a percent, or you can just move your decimal 2 spaces to the right. 1, 2, that's 320%. 1, 2, that's 140%.